what a wonderful day it is. Ladies and gentlemen of Hashtag Nation, look who I found. Look at this guy over here. You guys been calling for it. You guys wanted it. He's been MIA for a little bit, taking care of his business, as only a good father would. So I decided to try to steal him tonight for a little bit. So I'm so glad that the rest of you will be joining us tonight. Hashtag Nation. Talk a little bit about the Buffalo Bills. We've had a little bit of a lull with some of the news going on. There's still a lot of other great NFL topics going around that are actually pretty humorous. We're going to talk about free agency, salary cap, a little bit of the draft. But in a twist, you guys are running the show tonight. So any kind of questions you want, we got the chat open on both of our computers. So we'll be lighting it up for you guys tonight. So, but first and foremost, since he's been gone for a while, I'll finally stop talking so you guys can listen to the man, the myth, the legend. Paul, how you doing tonight, bud?
Hi.
Dynamite drop in, Monty.
What's up, dude? Yeah. So a little craziness in Casa de Wineski. Wife had emergency gallbladder surgery. She almost died. It's been crazy. We got a baby. It's been nuts. It's been nuts. But such is life, I suppose. But I'm back. I'm here for you. Now, today, tomorrow, and forever. Mario and I are going live right now, and then we're going to be recording the rest of the week's content immediately following this. So anything that we don't get to tonight could make its way into an episode later this week. So anything again that we feel is a topic we want to hold on to. We're not trying to shake the question, I promise. We might just be saving it for an episode later this week. So we might kind of pull our punches a little bit there. Hey.
That's the way it works. I mean, Hashtag Nation is. I love it how we start the stream, everyone just starts to file in a little bit at a time. Mazvids says Paul. Brendan Zielinski comes in. Paul's back. Let's go. We got Bilo Zero and Steve Hampton and Rich G. We them boys in the house. So it's great to see everybody tonight. And I didn't know that I was doing such a I don't know what kind of a job that everyone was pining for you back. It's in the comment section as well. Everyone kept asking about you. So, but as we move on, Paul, as we start to go, because I've been cheating on you this whole week. Hashtag Nation, if you guys know, we've been doing a lot of different collabs this week with a lot of wonderful individuals. We had Greg Thompson on, Joe from Believers Talk, Cold Front Report, Matt Perino came on, and I did one with Dan Mitchell as well, and representing the Don Mafia. So it was great to see to work with all those. There's so much great content out there, and if you guys are not following all of those other guys, you really should, because there's just nonstop Bills content coming out and something for everybody to latch onto. And Matt's vids, thanks, man. We always appreciate the donations here at Hashtag Sports. Hashtag is whole again. Let's go. I love it. So Paul, I mean, the Serenity now comes in right out of the gate. What position group do you guys think they'll target most in the draft? So what do you think is the biggest? I think the Serenity. Do you mean like what's their biggest priority? What's the one that they'll draft multiple times, or kind of like we saw Dawson Knox and Sweeney drafted last year? Do you think it's two picks? Do you think it's two guys? I'll let Paul take care of this one on who he thinks would probably be the most important position to draft.
Well, I'll tell you what, I got pounded for yet another week because the legend of the Cole Beasley trade came up yet again. And I just want to clear the air just one last time. I was not saying the Bills will trade Cole Beasley. I was just simply bringing up that if you expect the Bills to trade up, you don't have a lot of assets, that's a type of player you might
Well, Paul, I don't know if you can hear me, bud. I don't know, can you hear me? Because we can't hear you. We have no audio on you, sir. Did you hit something? on there? And basically, when he was talking, you were talking, and then I guess that's how much the Cole Beasley situation affected you. I guess nobody wanted to hear it, even an explanation of it. Oh my God, this is great. Yeah, well, while Paul tries to uh, rectify his audio problem, I will go over to the chat. Steve Hampton, Paul's internet caught the. I'm not saying that word. That's crazy. Yeah, no sound for Paul Donnybrook. Yep, can't hear anything. We got it. We got it. So while he's trying to connect right now, he probably hit something with his hamster on a wheel internet connection. I'll answer the question. You know what? For me, it's offensive
Hey,
line and
wait, hold
corner.
on. I'm back. Can
What?
you hear me now?
Oh God, he's back, ladies and
Can you
gentlemen.
hear me?
Always when I'm about to
Okay.
start
All
talking.
right. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear
Yeah.
you now.
Perfect. That perfect timing. So again, legend of the Cole Beasley deal. I was just trying to mention that it's about a player of that caliber, the second tier player that doesn't get you a first round pick. It could be leveraged to move up in the second round. That's all I was saying. Now, with that being said, with the Texans moving for Brandon Cooks today, that tells you that a lot of teams that were wide receiver needy don't see this as a wide receiver deep draft outside of that first round, because the Texans moving for Brandon Cooks kind of, again, tells you that while this has been heralded as a wide receiver deep draft, Texans and the Bills are on the same page here. They went and acquired veteran help for a position in need. So can the Bills still go out and add more wide receiver depth? Yeah, absolutely, they sure could. They also need help. They need to bring in another tackle, because you've got Cody Ford at the right tackle, Ty Nsekhe on a contract year, and then you have Deion Dawkins on a contract year. So you need some offensive line help. Your safety tandem, you just locked up Jordan Poyer for a little bit longer, but my guy's only got 2 years left. Your cornerback position, you got Josh Norman on a 1 year deal. So there's definitely some positions that you got to back up. Cornerback, running back, in my opinion, is still one they need to pay attention to. And I'm still not sold on a Sam linebacker. But those would be the three positions that I think they're probably going to be a little heavy in, because a lot of the times they want to go with those smaller frame Sam linebackers because they can help on special teams. So that's kind of where I see them playing early.
This dude just said the Texans and the Bills are on the same wavelength.
I mean, marginally
Oh my
speaking,
God.
simply from only look at the recent moves, excluding DeAndre Hopkins. Let's take that one out.
Are are you kidding me? Are you?
No. Why are you disagreeing with me here? I gotta know.
You thought that move was? Oh God. Oh boy. Oh boy. What am I gonna do with this guy? You've been out of it too long. What did I miss? Beasley was traded. Blappity blah. Big Spence coming in.
Yeah.
Always trying to right the ship. I like. No, no. I don't know. I think that they're separate incidents. I think the fact is the Buffalo Bills made a very strategic move with acquiring Stephon Diggs, getting he had 4 years left on his deal. It's just like drafting a rookie with the exception of the fifth year option. But you have him for 4 years on a very controllable deal, and he helps your team immensely. He's going to be a great asset for Josh Allen in this offense going forward. I think the Texans trade was like a band-aid after the whole DeAndre Hopkins thing. I really think that getting Cooks, okay, the whatchamacallit, the Rams do not have a first round pick for, I don't know, foreseeable future. And so what are you going to do? You're going to they're going to sit there and say, okay, listen, we need to do something here. So they're going to acquire a pick for a guy that they're probably not even going to resign. So the interesting part about this is I kind of want to take a little bit different slant of the Buffalo Bills and how they're everyone keeps talking about the Bills have roughly around $20 million in salary cap space for this season. A lot of people still there's a couple free agents that they want the Buffalo Bills to sign. Trent Murphy's name has been thrown around here and there as far as if you want to get more cap, you want to get more money on your cap in order to re-sign some of the contracts coming up. Now pay attention because there's a lot to unpack in this. The Buffalo Bills going into next season have $53 million under the cap. They're going to be $53 million under the cap. So if they were able to Oh, and their rookie class projected, if they stay where all their picks are, I don't foresee Bean doing that, but if they stay where all their picks are, they're going to be at $5 million, roughly a little over $5 million is their rookie class if they stay where they are. So you take 20 minus 5, you got 15, you roll that over into the 53 next year, you have $68 million in cap space. The interesting part about this, why I'm blabbling on about all these numbers, is that except for the Denver Broncos, the Buffalo Bills with 44 players have the most guys under contract for next season. The Broncos have 45. Everyone else is in the 30s and 20s as far as their roster goes. So, unless extreme moves are made and guys are cut going into next season, I know I don't want to get too much into next season, but what I'm saying is they're going to be rolling over a majority of that 20 million that they have left that they don't use, I think, for next year in order to sign Dawkins, Milano, um, and Trey White eventually. But you see how they staggered the AJ Klein deal if they're not able to sign Milano or he asks for too much. And the interesting part about the whole Milano thing is that if they don't sign him and he signs a big deal somewhere else, and I'll kick it over to you, this is where compensatory picks come in. So could you just explain? It's a crazy formula, but if you could just give them like the nuts and bolts of it to hashtag Nation, I'd really appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. So compensatory formula picks are super funky. And the NFL is very veiled about how they determine compensatory picks. But the one thing you can do is go to overthecap.com, and on their draft page, they have compensatory picks listed out. So I'll just give you an example right now. So right now, Teddy Bridgewater is expected, because Teddy Bridgewater right now in the 2021 draft is looking like he's going to fetch a third round pick based off the contract that he signed, right? So you take a look at some other players. Vic Beasley's on that list. But AJ Klein is on that list. AJ Klein is going to be worth a sixth round pick to New Orleans in the 2021 draft. So basically what ends up happening is you look at about the top 32 picks, right? And that's kind of where they look at the top free agents and see, did you lose more than you gained this offseason? So like Tom Brady is going to be worth a third round pick to the New England Patriots in 2021 because of the contract that he signed. Phillip Rivers is the same way. So if you have these high profile free agents that sign big contracts other places, those come back to you in compensatory picks. So good example. Let's see here. Jordan Phillips, right? Jordan Phillips' contract normally would play into the compensatory formula. Over the Cap does not have him on here right now as fetching a compensatory pick, but this stuff can all change. As I said, it's kind of a shot in the dark right now. They don't have him listed, but I don't know if if the ink's dried on that contract enough for Over the Cap to have it listed there, because he should be on this formula and he's not. Same with Shaq Lawson. So it's all about what you lost versus what you brought on. So unless the compensatory formula says the Bills got better than got worse from a free agent standpoint, compensatory picks always come back if if a player signed a big free agent deal somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, and we during the Diggs deal before that deal was consummated, the Bills had lost Phillips and Lawson, and they didn't make any moves. So they were due a fourth. Maybe they'll get a fifth. I don't know, but because they did make enough signings that I think they may not get one. The formula, like you said, is pretty insane. So it's kind of it's tough. And then we have in the chat, everyone's asking how many picks do we have. The Buffalo Bills currently have 7 picks. They're going to be moving around. Rich G came in and he said, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you guys feel about the pick up this offseason of Josh Norman? Now, initially, I wasn't very happy with it. 1 year, $6 million. You can't be mad about the price tag. But I put 7 in there. I don't know if you put your number in, but what is your thought on the Josh Norman pickup from 1 to 10?
I'm at like a solid 8.5, and the only reason this isn't a 9 is because the Bills have a history of turning and burning cornerbacks. So even though we're talking about a very prolific player in Josh Norman while under Sean McDermott's tutelage, the Bills have turned and burned cornerbacks for a while now. So I'd be a solid 9. But I got to sit at 8.5 on this. I think it's a great deal. Listen, he's 33 years old, but this is a guy that was talked about as possibly being, if he was able to sustain play, a Hall of Fame level player, a Hall of Fame caliber player. But he left, signed a big paycheck in Washington. He went through multiple defensive back coaches. It was just a carousel of crazy out there. So I'm good on this. It's not a big cap number. It's on a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
And, if all goes well, he's not a stupid guy. He's going to say, listen, I perform best here. If it's another $6 million deal, then you stay. That's it. And the Bills can just keep buying themselves some extra depth at really a very affordable rate.
Yeah, we got. Initially, I wasn't very warm with the deal, obviously because of his age. But the contract itself, 1 year, $6 million, I wasn't very. I wasn't upset about it. I thought it was fine, and a guy that knows the nuances of this defense, and like you just said, they've been turning and burning cornerbacks. Mm-hmm. So having a guy who's actually familiar with the verbiage back there, you talk about Frazier McDermott. If there's one thing that those guys could do, those guys could talk to cornerbacks and talk to the secondary. And then I started to warm up to it a little bit more because you got those two freaks back there with Poyer and Hyde. If you want to play Trey White on the number one receiver, and you want to play Josh Norman on a number two, because a lot of times in Washington, Norman was matched up on the ones because he's considered a number one corner, even at this stage in his career. However, he's going to be on a lot of the number two wide receivers. He's going to have Micah Hyde over top of him, and depending on whatever the Buffalo Bills do with their draft and who they decide to pick up at 54, a lot of people are very high on Kyle Duggar. I can understand that 100%, but I started to warm up to it, and that's why, because of a lot of things that went on in Washington. I think Cold Front Report released it on Facebook. If you guys aren't following them on Facebook, Cold Front Report, please do. They did a side-by-side comparison of his statistics versus Levi Wallace. And like Levi Wallace, I can't remember the exact numbers, but like Levi Wallace led in like 12 less touchdowns in like 4 less games or something like that. And it was very interesting to see how that dynamic played out with because we do compare them quite a bit. They are very similar in the way that they play the corner position with Wallace and Norman. So let's go up over to the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you once again for the 46 of you that are in here. I really appreciate your support. Love that you guys are liking all the videos all week and all the stuff that we've been doing. So we just love that you guys ride with us all the time. So Jonathan came in. He said, "Hey guys, out of these 3 guys, who do you think would be a greater chance that we draft? Chase Claypool, Jonathan Taylor, or Kyle Duggar? Thanks. Go Bills." Now, before you answer, Mr. Taylor, because I know you love Jonathan Taylor, should this be an episode this week? Is this question worthy of an episode? Because we could do a profile on all 3 of these guys as we talk about it.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Jonathan, this week we will have an episode on that question for you later this week. So make sure we highlight that one and write that one down. So Mazvids comes in. He says we have like 4 5th-round picks, right? The most of any. I believe they only have 2. They should trade them all and move up to the 4th or the 3rd. Well, Paul, you and I have talked about this many times. Bean is the kind of mover and a shaker where if you have 2 picks in one round, a majority of the time, not all the time, majority of the time, that will get you into the previous round because there's some needy teams out there that do not have a lot of cap space, but they need bodies in camp. They would love 2 picks like that in succession. What is the likelihood that Bean bundles those picks to move up? What do you think?
Here's the deal, right? So the Bills, just to give you an overall framework on the total number of picks the Bills actually have. So they've got the 54th pick right now in the 2nd round. In the 3rd round, they have pick 86. In the 4th round, they have pick 128. The 5th round, they have pick 167. In the 6th round, they have 2 picks, 188 and 207. So it's the only round that they have multiple picks. And then they still have their 7th round pick, which is in spot 239. So there's not a lot of ammo here to really move around, right?
Yep.
And that's kind of what you talk about. Like if the Bills were going to do anything, I could see them packaging a 5th and a 6th to snag, to jump up in the 4th, right? To go up and get another player in the 4th and then sit back in the 6th and 7th. I saw somebody just mention it. Marshall Parker said, I think the Bills only draft 4 or 5 players, nothing more. There's not many spots open. And I agree. I don't think there's a lot of opportunity for adding a bunch of playmakers on this team. You're talking about a near entirely returning defense minus Jordan Phillips, Shaq Lawson, who were on rotation anyway. You've lost Lorenzo Alexander. Outside of that, that's it, right? So
Yeah.
it's again another year of this defense coming back. So I think you could look at packaging, a fifth and a sixth, jump up into the fourth. You could look at packaging both sixes and jumping back into the fifth. Um, you never know. You might see a seventh or a sixth round pick traded for a veteran player for a team that's looking to get rid of a contract, like a Matt Breida in San Francisco. You got Jared McKinnon coming back in San Francisco. There's kind of a Shanahan-esque type player. You can see him being fun for Shanahan, but they've got a backlog of running backs. Matt Breida makes a lot of sense if San Francisco is looking to sell off for a fifth, sixth, or seventh round pick. And it kind of buys you a little bit of time to figure out what you want to do long term with the running back position.
Interesting.
What?
No, sorry, that last part when you were talking, I was reading the chat, so I didn't catch
okay.
the, I didn't catch that last part. No, that's fine. So, all right, Jonathan said perfect. We're going to make that episode. I think Bills only draft 4 or 5 players, nothing more. That's Marshall. Yeah, that's what you just said. So, will they draft a QB? I mean, QB's thrown around in the chat. I believe it was Chad and then John Calvin also. I don't know, because this is the. I mean, a lot of people have been talking, and a lot of people are kind of on different sides of this topic with Josh Allen. This is the third year. The third year is the litmus test. I mean, is he going to be the quarterback that you traded all these assets for? And that wagon is going to be hitched to both Bean and McDermott. So a lot of the things that go on this year, he's going to be under a lot of scrutiny, especially with the expectations going into this season, and that more than he even had in 2019. They made the playoffs. They won double-digit games. Now you're adding all these nice, shiny new toys to the offense. What are you going to do now? What is going to catapult you into the next stratosphere? If Josh Allen does not throw for 4,000 yards, I don't think it's going to be a failure of a year. And I'll wait in the chat for the hate mail of that. But if he wins 12 games not throwing for 4,000 yards, I think that's fine. If we look back, and we love to do the comparison with Carolina, the 2015 Carolina team, Newton didn't throw for 4,000. However, he did throw for 35 touchdowns and ran for 10 others. So I think if the offense is able to put up points and they're able to score, and he's spreading the ball around to a bunch of different guys, and the way that this offense is set up as far as the quick timing throws and the concept routes on both sides for all these guys, he doesn't need to throw for 400 or 300 every game for this offense to work and for the Buffalo Bills to be successful, because you have that dominant defense. And the simple fact, look at it this way. Dak Prescott in 2019 threw for almost 5,000 yards. That offense was awful. They were behind in games a lot, which is why he had those yards. So I think the 300-yard thing gets blown out of proportion sometimes. But, does he need to be more crisp with his throws and a lot of things here and there in the offense? We all can agree on that as Bills fans. However, I think having the 300 bar is something that, okay, I could do without that. You throw for 250, 2 touchdowns, no picks, and you win, 28-7. I don't think anybody would be mad at that. I don't think anybody would. So, I know. What's your thoughts on the Bills probably picking up a backup or someone else? I think they like Matt Barkley, but I mean, where do you stand on this?
Yeah, I think you kind of have to look at the arc of the arc of Josh Allen. Barkley's there to support Josh Allen. That's his job. He's not there to compete in any way for the actual quarterback role. And now going into year 3, this is the year where, especially with the expanded rosters and the expanded practice squad space, you could sign or draft a quarterback later, or sign one in undrafted free agency and park him on the practice squad. And he's going to get a couple game day looks on the roster if you really want, because the rules for the roster management have changed. So you're going to have expanded game day rosters. You have expanded practice squad eligibility this season. So you may end up seeing a player like Steven Montez from Colorado, who's going to be undrafted. There's 30 quarterbacks in this draft, guys. They're not all getting drafted. So it might be a guy you've never heard of. And, you might toil away on the practice squad. Davis Webb is already there, and he was a quarterback with a huge arm from Cal. And again, they may be looking at him as saying, we think we got something here. Kind of in a longer scope. But trust me, whoever they get will not be a superstar athlete. It's going to be a student of the game. They're going to go out and try and pick up the best football IQ player, because in this offense, that's what you have to have. You have to have the football IQ in order to keep up. And this team is not going to waste a draft pick on a quarterback. I really have a feeling they're going to sign one undrafted free
Yeah.
agency that you could just, cut him and forget him if you bring him in and the guy can't add to 12 and you didn't know that. Just you don't have to worry about it. But you're going to look at a high football IQ player if they bring anybody along at all. As I said, they already have Davis Webb on the practice squad. I kind of expect to see them sit there and not put any pressure on Allen, feeling like they're looking at his fourth season as being his final. I just don't see that yet.
Yeah. So well, wait, I just want to get to Mads Viz real quick because I just want to say thank you very much. He said the pass rush will be better, making some of the weakness at the cornerback two position. Masking some of the weaknesses. I'm a math teacher, guys, not an English teacher. So also with obviously the C word, I think a lot of rookies this year will be developmentally behind. This draft will telegraph who isn't getting re-signed. I think that's huge. All this stuff, they're not able to go and see these guys. So the guys that put the legwork in September, October, November, that went to go see these players, maybe talk to them. Senior Bowl. I mean, they did have a chance to have the Senior Bowl and the Combine. So I think that gave a lot of the teams at least a basis of information of what they were able to do, what they were going to do, and who they were going to target. I think the pro days just kind of try to solidify some of the things you've already done as far as your research and your study and the film and everything. Because I mean, as you know, it goes on the games first, and then it goes on the Senior Bowl, and then you start talking about the combine. Is how well did this guy end up maintaining some of the things that he's had to do? How does he recover from a long season? How does he recover from injury? What is going on in this kid's head? What's going on? So they were able to actually do a lot of things with a lot of these players prior to the draft. But like I agree that once they get drafted, where are they going to go? What are they going to do? It's going to be their development will be behind, and especially as we talk about many times on hashtag sports, the rookie wide receivers. That is where it's going to hit the hardest, which is probably why you're seeing a lot of, like you said, Paul, a lot of these teams are going after veterans because that's the easiest thing for them to go. They're proven commodities. They've been in the NFL. They've been a pro. They know how to handle everything. And I mean, that's what I like. I mean, um, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. So I hope I answered his
Yeah,
question.
Karen Williams asks a question. It says, "Will Lawson and Phillips be missed, or were they just a product of the Bills system?" I know there's a saying that your brother has, and it makes me chuckle every time. It's just pass rushers; they make them every year.
I said that.
So you sure that was you?
I said that in the car episodes too, because you
I thought
said
you referenced Mike to that one. My apologies.
no. They turn and burn a couple other things every year, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think that was mine. I think I said
So
it.
what? So what do you think? Phillips and Lawson. Lawson was not was not a McDermott guy. He was drafted in the Rex era, and then Jordan Phillips kind of was a McDermott guy because he came over with Dennis Hickey and Dennis Locke from Miami. They had drafted him there. They brought him in from Miami once Miami waived him. So do you think Phillips was a product of the system? Do you think Lawson was a product of the system? And can they be replaced?
I think the answer to that will be this year when, however you see Jefferson and Vernon Butler perform. Now, if they come in, now I'm not talking about 9 sacks between those guys. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you're talking about Moneyball. I mean, we talked about this all the time. Phillips was drafted in the second round by the Miami Dolphins. Dennis Hickey and Dennis Locke were down there. They're both in the room now at One Bills Drive, doing the Moneyball thing that they always like to do. So they end up bringing Phillips up there. Well, they brought up Gore, they brought up Sonoris Perry. They brought up other guys that were Dolphins that they had drafted down there and or acquired down there. They say, hey, these guys are cheap options. They'll be able to fill these holes here and there. And I understand that. So that being said, I think because it's such a rotational defensive front, because the communication on that front four has to be at an all-time high. I think they knew what they had in Phillips, and to your point, which you said in an episode before, okay, listen, they got the value for him. They got the value for him. Now, no need to overpay him and stretch the bank when you can get two guys that could just as well play that position, and you have another rotational guy in there. Like I said, I'm not expecting Butler and or Jefferson to have 9.5 sacks because a lot of those were a product of the defensive scheme and what was going on there. So I think I don't want to discount the things that Phillips and Lawson did in Buffalo when they were there, because I think they were very productive players and they did a heck of a job. But this system is set up for players like that to be successful. And now you have Martin, you replace those two guys with Mario Addison, Jefferson, and Vernon Butler. And we're going to have to see how it plays out this year. So if those guys end up creating pass rush, those guys have hurries, those guys have, one or two, 3 or 4 sacks apiece, then you're just going to say, okay, well, then Bean's a genius because you could turn and burn some of them guys and just plug and play a 6'3", 300 player that just mean and nasty, and that's exactly what Butler and Jefferson both are. So,
Right.
And that was the type of player that Phillips was too. So he will be missed if their production happens to be less than what Jordan Phillips and Shaq Lawson's was. So, Trek Revert, we missed him. He actually had a very interesting question. He said the Seahawks need an edge, offensive tackle, wide receiver, interior defensive line, tight end. We have Robert Foster, Deion Dawkins, Tyler Croft, Jerry Hughes, and Starr, and 2 6th and a 7th round pick. And then he says Seattle has 4 second-round picks, which I think is amazing. Can you see a trade between?
That's what they do, though. You know that's what they do. They go stretches of just trying to make it work, and then all of a sudden they're just going to draft. Have a whole lineage of draft picks. They do it quietly. They really do a good job of staying under the radar with acquiring all those picks.
Yeah. So it's I don't know if, because Trek, the names that you mentioned, let me go back up to them. The names that you mentioned, Foster, obviously he's a restricted free agent next year, if he acquires a year playing this year, because you look at the wide receiver room now. I mean, it's going to be tough for him to get on the field unless he does some different things. Deion Dawkins in a contract year. Tyler Croft, I believe, is in a contract year. Jerry Hughes is in a contract year, and he's 33. And you have Starr, who did just restructure his deal, but you're talking about guys that you're going to have to replace. I don't know if Seattle's willing to make that move for some of those. They may deal one of those seconds. They may try to trade a second or 2 seconds and a third next year to try to hop into the first round at the tail end of it. I'm not sure, but I can't remember the guy's name, the GM in Seattle, but him and Pete Carroll have been very, like you said, Paul, they've been very on it as far as, okay, let's just get all these guys in here. Mm-hmm. Let's get the volume. If they fit in our system, great. If they don't fit in our system, fine. I mean, let's do what we got to do. So,
right. I saw somebody ask who our first round running backs were. Nicholas Ellims, who is your RB1 in the draft. Mario, you and I have talked off the air about this. I mean, there was a whole episode about it where I just love Jonathan Taylor. But Jonathan Taylor is very much like a David Johnson-esque player to me. Some of you may have nightmares of David Johnson the last 2 seasons for a variety of reasons, and I understand that. But Jonathan Taylor is the one to me. But I got to be honest with you. There's 2 players outside of him, Swift and J.K. Dobbins, and their tape is awesome. I really like J.K. Dobbins, and I hate players from Ohio State. Oh, God. I hate players from Ohio State.
Just to give everyone a basis of what is going on with Paul about Ohio State players. It's mostly the defensive backs. He can't stand Ohio State D-backs because the Big Ten isn't known for having a lot of those guys. However, Paul, a lot of them have made their way to One Bills Drive. I just want to let you know that.
I know.
Wasn't Lattimore from there?
Marcus Lattimore?
Marshawn
Lattimore? Marcus Lattimore was a running back. Whoa. Let's go back a little bit. Sorry about that.
It's been a while for you, dude. It's okay.
Woo!
Okay, so we got A.J. Dillon getting thrown around. We got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, obviously Jonathan Taylor, who you love. My sleeper, who I absolutely adore, is Eno Benjamin.
Ah, come on!
I love me some Eno Benjamin.
If you go to NFL.com and pull up Eno Benjamin's scouting report, his NFL comparison is Devin Singletary.
You know why?
I'm not making that up.
The phenomenal part about this, Paul, this is where it all comes together. Here's what's so great about it. He's faster than Singletary, okay, first of all right?
Yeah, he is.
But if you're talking about a two-back system, which every team has to have now, a lot of teams have three-back systems. I mean, you look at San Francisco out there. I mean, you got Breida, Coleman, and Mozart now. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so the two backs, you got to have at least a two back system, and everyone knows this. And not many people are high in TJ Yeldon. I understand that. I'm not going down that road with hashtag Nation again. We have like 75 videos talking about TJ Yeldon if you guys want that. But Benjamin, you take the system that you have, and now the greatest part about the system is that you don't have to change a lot. When Frank Gore came in the game for Devin Singletary, you knew there wasn't outside runs or there wasn't going to be a pass to the running back. Okay, majority of the time. Majority of the time, I'm trying to say. So now, if you take out a Devin Singletary, you put in Benjamin, you don't have to change anything as far as your philosophy and how you're going into that game. Now you have two for the price of one. You have two guys. You can keep them both fresh the entire year. They can run up and down the field on you. You don't have to change the philosophy of your offense when a different running back is in there. That is the key that I love about Benjamin. And you said Paul's not lying. His NFL comparison is Devin Singletary, which is what drew me to it in the first place. Other than the fact that the guy's a freak. Some of his other numbers at the combine, he's freakish.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
his three cone, I think, was like under.
it was under 7.
Yes. So
It was under 7.
He can change direction in space very quick.
Good number. That's a good number. One issue with Benjamin, if you hate TJ Yeldon for ball security, you're going to hate Benjamin, right? So just understand that's one. But you take a shifty guy like Benjamin, you're like, why is this guy falling down? Why does CBS have him ranked as like the 10th best running back in the class? That's one of the reasons. Ball security is a big thing. You got to take care of the football.
It's always huge.
You got to take care of the football.
Ball security is always huge.
That's what she said.
Giggity. Got it. Travis Henry hands. Donnie Brook coming in. Oh my God. Hashtag Nation is on fire tonight. I love it. I love all the comments coming in. You guys are phenomenal. What else can we get? The Big Spence. Is he related to Kelvin Benjamin? And I just said, God, no. I hope he's not related to Kelvin Benjamin.
No.
All right. Did we miss a question by John? He said, who's the better receiver?
Yeah, who's the best receiver? Yeah, the better receiver in the draft. So the top 3 are untouchable for the Bills. It's why they went out and got Diggs. You weren't going to get CeeDee Lamb from Oklahoma. You weren't going to get Jerry Jeudy from Alabama. You weren't going to get Henry Ruggs, also from Alabama, who I don't believe is a first-round player, but people are going to think that he is.
He'll go to Vegas.
Yeah, that's it. You just run a 4-2, get drafted by the Raiders.
From your ears, Paul.
That's it. Justin Jefferson from LSU is another one that was climbing up draft boards. T. Higgins, player from Clemson, doesn't run a full route tree. Stop me if you've heard this one before. But outside of that, you really start getting kind of funky. Denzel Mims is somebody that you're going to hear connected to the Bills in like the 3rd round.
Yes.
Mims is 6'3", 207, so he checks all the boxes for size. Again, and at Baylor, not a full route tree, right? Very underdeveloped route runner. But when you talk about separation, he does a phenomenal job of generating separation. But again, Baylor's system, there's a lot of that built in. Good news is, if you go back to the Senior Bowl, he looked great at the Senior Bowl, playing against the best cornerbacks in this draft. So does a great job. But again, if you're looking for a route runner, Denzel Mims is not. He is not a finished product. That Baylor system does not ask you to do the things that an NFL wide receiver is even going to have to think about. So you have to be very careful when you're buying on Denzel Mims. If you love him, that's great, but just understand it's going to be a couple years before you really see him contribute.
Chad Graziano. If you could draft any, I think he meant O-line player, not online player, because they're all going to be drafted online at 54. So, who do you draft and why?
So can we talk philosophy here real quick?
I'm listening.
So the Bills have 54, right? The 54th overall pick. If you're really looking at offensive players, right, and where they could fall in this draft, I mean, the pool gets thin pretty quick at the offensive line position. If you go back and watch the Senior Bowl, it is some really awful tackle play. It is bad. It is bad.
No bueno.
Yeah, it's very bad. The Bills went ahead and drafted Cody Ford last year. You got Deion Dawkins on a contract year. Again, if you're going to start looking at where you go, oh man, it's this is not a good offensive line draft. I'm sorry, it is not.
No.
It is not very good. When you start looking at who could be available for the Bills, Mekhi Becton shows up from Louisville, but he is just didn't look good in all the film that I watched.
No,
I mean,
he's going to be enticing to a team way before 54. I mean,
right?
he's a guy was pushing a truck on Twitter the other day. I mean, the
I
guy's a
know
freak.
he's a freak.
I mean, if you have those raw materials, though, I mean, if you don't have to physically, the guy really doesn't have many physical shortcomings. You could work with him, and that's all he needs
Right.
is to be a little bit more, tighten up the technique on a lot of the things that he needs to do, and he'll be fine. But that is such an enticing freak athlete that you need in
Mm-hmm.
there. So
If you guys want to have fun, go watch Mekhi Becton just throw grown men around a college football field. He destroys people. He picks players. He. There's plenty of instances that I could show you where he picks up a 250-pound linebacker and throws him 4 yards backwards. Like the guy is just an animal, but he's so raw, just so raw. Now the Bills have the position protected for this year, right? You got
yes,
you got
yep.
Cody Ford and Ty Nsekhe. You still Deion Dawkins on the opposite side. So you have the position protected. So if you wanted to draft him, that's fine. But if you're going to draft him, you're going to have to waive him to get him down to the practice squad. If you're going to take him in the third or fourth round, you're going to have to subject him to waivers to get down to the practice squad. And another team is going to say, oh, well, we thought about this guy, but Buffalo took him in the fourth or the third. Let's just pick him up off of waivers. And he's not going to clear waivers.
No.
So he's a guy that if you draft him, he's got to make the team. And he's just really raw. So let Miami make that mistake. Let Houston make that mistake. Let Tennessee make that mistake. Realize how far behind he really is. And if he doesn't make the roster, he's going to be subjected to waivers. And you're probably going to see another team pick him up that way.
Oh man, well, Daniel Garris comes in the chat. He says Darrell Williams was signed as well. I mean, I think, I don't know. For me, Williams. I mean, obviously he has the familiarity, and we always talk about the familiarity about them on the. Are you frozen, Paul? I think he's frozen. I think he's either Anna or Elsa. Look at him. Look at you. Paul, let it go. So if you're talking about Williams in that respect, I mean, I would have loved for them to sign a Waddle back, and nothing's really going on with that. It doesn't seem like anything's going on with Waddle, and I'm a little disappointed about that. But Andrew Kern comes in and says Darrell Williams is not good. I think Darrell Williams last year he was playing a little bit out of position. I mean, for the same reasons that we talked about earlier in the stream, you want to talk about a Josh Norman being in Washington, not a favorable situation. I think because of the injuries that Carolina sustained and Greg Little, I believe, not really. I mean, the Bills skipped Carolina to get Cody Ford, and Greg Little was drafted by Carolina right after that. That Bean must have known something, and because of Little's, I mean, not playing. I mean, he underperformed last year. And you want to talk about Williams? Williams, probably a guy that if he comes in with McDermott, he'll get rejuvenated and he'll play a little bit better. But I don't think it's. I don't want to go to the point that he's not good, because there were some cast-offs that came here, and the one guy that set them all straight was OG Bobby Johnson on that offensive line with, Feliciano Morse, Spain, all those guys, especially those interior guys. You had like the island of misfit toys, and they made it work. They did well. They did so well. And another year, I can't remember who said it, but they said someone said about the continuity with the offensive line coming back. I mean, that's going to be something that's huge. That's going to be something that's so huge for the Buffalo Bills next year. And that's why I think why all of the expectations get ramped up so much in Buffalo. And I mean, I'm here for it. Hashtag Nation is here for it. Bills Mafia is here for it. I think that's why we have such a high expectation for this team. And it's great. It's wonderful. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I got hammered for my record, Paul, by the way. I just want to let you know. My prediction for the season.
Oh, come on now.
I got hammered for 9-7. I got hammered. But I had him winning the division at 9-7.
the Patriots have proven they can win without Tom Brady. So I'm kind of still in that boat. Quickly on Darrell Williams, this is a guy who dislocated his kneecap and injured his MCL and played one game in 2018. In 2017, he was second team All Pro, but even with that, could only get a 1 year deal from Carolina. So Carolina was not buying the production in 2017 when it came contract time, in 2019. So I get it, right? There's not a lot to look at the last 2 seasons, and what you can see isn't very good. But this is a chance that you take. You're familiar with the player. And I think that's, again, you take a look at the offseason and what this offseason is so different than everything else with, the coronavirus and NFL teams basically after having to close up shop. These are the types of moves that you have to make. And it's a safe bet. It's not going to cost you. It doesn't cost you a ton of money. It's a safe bet. It's not a player that we're going to be thanking the good Lord that the Bills signed. Come December or January, it'll be a player who's there in case you need him. I think this is like a Ryan Bates-esque move where you look down the road and you say, I'm kind of glad the Bills picked him up. That was a smart move, but not a player you're going to depend on.
Oh wait, let me correct. I apologize. I didn't look it up, but they were telling me in the chat that Little went before Ford. Yeah,
Little went
before.
before Ford.
Oh yeah, okay, all right.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Hashtag
Yeah.
Nation. I messed that one up.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone, Donnie Brooks said that in the when you got frozen with your mouth open, he said he's already making T-shirts of that. He's gonna put that on a T-shirt for you. Uh, all right, so who was it? Brett. Let me look up Brett. What do you guys think about Voshan Joseph's potential this year? Is he frozen again? You're ridiculous, Paul. Jeez. Stop splicing off of Walmart's, Wi-Fi over there. Okay, Voshan Joseph. I think someone else brought it up in the chat, which was great. Is that you're talking about Harrison Phillips as well? I mean, you got Harrison Phillips. He got injured. You're going to see how he comes off of that injury. How will he, affect that defensive front rotation with everything? Oh my God, Paul's out, and then he's back. Jeez. Anyway, he's going to affect the defensive front rotation. He's going to be a factor in there, depending on how he comes back from the injury and everything goes on. But as far as Voshan Joseph goes, it's almost like having another. Paul, is it almost like having another pick? Was
Voshan?
Voshan didn't even play at all?
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's almost like one
Yeah.
of your other picks. Oh, I'll get back to it. Right. It's like almost having like another one of your picks. Like you have a player that's on now a 3-year deal because you know what I mean, that you drafted last year. That's a position that, depending on how he comes back off of it, is a position you don't have to draft because he's been in the building for a year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
right.
I mean, that's
Yeah. Totally agree. Totally agree.
hashtag Nation is easily amused. Of course we are, Daniel. That's why you guys love us, right? It's dude. This has been too long since we did this. This is too much fun. I just love talking to these guys. Have you guys tried turning it off and turning it on back on again?
What
Makes sense.
Mario, what topics did do you think we should cover for episodes this week?
Well, we have that
Toss
one
it to the
earlier
for some more episode ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Nation always comes up with great episode ideas. I think a lot of it's going to center more around the draft, and just to let everybody know. We are once again, I believe, for the 5th year. I just want to announce this right now. For the 5th year, for all 70 of you watching, we're going to be doing a draft show here live on Hashtag Sports. It's the Bills-centric draft for you guys. Obviously, even though the Buffalo Bills do not have a first-round pick, we are going to be covering it live. If you guys remember the draft from last year, if you guys were riding with us for a couple of years, we've done this. We did it at 34 Rush at Batavia Downs. Obviously, we're not able to do that this year due to what's been going on. However, we are going to have our virtual online draft with the usual suspects that you guys saw last year, but it's going to be run through hashtag sports and also through Rock Sports Network on Facebook. So all the draft coverage, Bill centric, every pick, how that pick affects the Buffalo Bills. Even though the Buffalo Bills do not have a pick in the first round, Miami's got three, the Pats have one. I think a lot of people will be interested on who Minnesota takes with the 22nd pick if they're able to get one of those wide receivers that falls. I know there's going to be people that says, "Oh, we didn't need to trade for Diggs." I don't care. I like getting Diggs. He definitely improves your offense. But real quick, Rich G, thank you so much, brother. What up, Paul and Mario? Great show tonight. How well does this dangerous 2020 Buffalo team ultimately match up against Baltimore and Kansas City? Uh, I am a big proponent on the cliche defense wins championships, and I think that their defense is built to, and you have two very distinctly different offenses that you have to play against. Now, the Buffalo Bills did not play Kansas City last year, but they did play Baltimore. They played them tough. With the exception of a couple miscues, I believe Buffalo could have won that game at home. It's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be very, very interesting to see. I can't wait to see those matchups next year. They don't. They only play Kansas City. They don't play Baltimore. But if they do have to
Mhm.
go up against Baltimore, obviously Greg Roman, who is no stranger to Buffalo, a lot of people in Buffalo know how his offense is run. It's run through the quarterback and it's run through
Mhm.
his legs. So, Paul, what do you got for that? Whether the draft show or the response to who was it? I'm sorry, I just forgot your
Yeah,
name.
Rich G.
Rich G.
Yeah, Rich. So Baltimore, first off, Baltimore has 4 picks in the top 100. They've got a bunch of draft picks this year.
Yeah,
So Baltimore is restocking big time. Kansas City, very much the same. They don't have a pick after the fifth round. So they are trying to go as top heavy as possible, and I don't blame them. Kansas City is always dangerous, right? But right now, I think their highest paid player, and correct me if I'm wrong, is Sammy Watkins.
not
Uh,
anymore. Not anymore.
oh, not anymore.
He's at 9. He took a pay cut to 9, but incentives could be up to 16.
So if he plays, got it. Got it. Got to stay healthy.
Stop, drop, and roll, Sammy.
Well, they only have $2 million in cap space right now anyway.
Has
Yeah, they only got 2 mil. They don't even have enough to sign their draft picks right now. So I mean, they're a mess. Kansas City, they're holding it together with bubblegum and band-aids. So this team at some point is going to have to pay Patrick Mahomes, and it's all going to fall apart from there. Um, they are on the verge to being a very bad football team very soon. That doesn't mean next year, this upcoming season. They still are going to struggle a little bit in the run game. They haven't really made any investments there that I'm very comfortable with. So you're gonna have to see what Mahomes can do without semblance of a run game. Andy Reid is a genius at the run game, though. He can make anybody effective. So I'm sure he'll figure out something in the draft. That's where they're going to get a weapon. They're going to get a weapon in the draft, and that's who you kind of have to watch out for. But if you play Baltimore in the playoffs, man, bring it on. Totally happy to play Lamar Jackson. The Lamar Jackson does not scare me one bit. I'm not afraid of him at all. Not one bit.
Elliot came in and he said, "Has Paul apologized to Cole Beasley yet?" All right. Truck reviewer comes in and says, "Is round one going to be a drunk cast?" Listen, we're all home. We're all going to be
Yeah.
at our individual homes, so
Yeah.
nobody's driving, nobody's doing anything. I'm assuming a few beverages will be taken. Daniel Garis comes in. Isn't that like five guys just asking for technical problems? Yes, this is hashtag sports. You're going to have a few technical problems. Don't worry about it. But we'll be right back up. So who else came in? Andrew Kern. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Keep up the good work, guys. We will try. We definitely will try here. And I was just telling Daniel Garis, there's probably going to be about, I missed the zero. There's probably going to be 40,000 people that are doing Zoom that night for the draft for their own
Oh
shows.
yeah.
YouTube's going to shut down. I mean, Zoom will shut down. And another thing, I haven't talked with Paul about this yet, but one of the things I was thinking about doing for those of you in Hashtag Nation, I know he loves when I do this. Those of you in Hashtag Nation, I was thinking of setting up sort of like a Zoom meeting for y'all. Not really a live or a stream, but just to meet and see some of y'all. I'm very interested to see the followers and the subs and a lot of you guys. And let's just have like a chill session where we just talk Buffalo Bills off the air, and we can do that. And I think it'd be awesome. I have my Zoom account all set up. I can host a bunch of people. So probably on the community tab of the YouTube page, you'll probably see something to that effect where You guys just come in. We can have a meeting. We can chat bills, man, because that's what this community is all about, and that's what Paul and I are aiming to do. I mean, we're delivering the content to you guys, but we're a part of Hashtag Nation too. So that's one of those things I want to do as we all are quarantined to our houses. I think that'd just be a cool thing to connect with you guys and see a lot of the nation. So I might invite Paul. He might be there. Will depend. It will depend on his schedule, but we'll see how that goes.
Thanks.
Uh,
Thanks. Uh, Scott Blakely, Paul, do you agree with Mario's record prediction of 9-7? Mario, do you agree that they're trading Cole Beasley? Thank you very much, Scott. No, I don't. 9-7, no, man. They're 11-5 all day. I'll take 11-5. It's a tough schedule though. There's some nail biters there.
Ooh,
I'm
11
gonna
and
optimize.
5.
Yeah, I think they'll split with the Patriots. Like we always talk about their record and go,
I
well, they're going to drop 2 to the
I
Patriots.
have them
I think
splitting
they'll
with the
split.
Pats.
Yeah, you have a split with the Pats at 9-7.
Yeah,
Man, you lost your mind.
they're 4-2 in the division.
You did that episode with Dan Mitchell, right?
I did. It's on. It's on
What
there if you guys want to see it.
was his vape coming through the speakers on your laptop? Like I don't know what was in that vape, but was it with the vape coming
I don't
through
know
the
what was
speakers
in
of the
there
laptop?
either. I never asked. I don't. But no. And the reason for that was I have them splitting the games that aren't the division games, the one Pittsburgh and Tennessee, and you know what? Forget it. You guys just watch the episode. That's what I'm gonna do now. If you've seen the episode, you know why. It was the NFC West. I had them going 1-3, and I just, I got a feeling that they are extremely talented. They have a lot of depth. It's the big game experience that gets me and the psychological. I know this coaching staff can get these guys up and do all this stuff, and I may make a lot of enemies by saying 9-7. But the thing was, it was 9-7 winning the division because the entire AFC East has to play that schedule, and they're not going to fare better than the Bills because I don't think any team in the AFC East is built like the Bills right now on paper. Now the draft could change a couple things, some free agency moves could change that, but the Patriots have like $12. Miami has 3 first-round picks, which is they're rumored to be trying to move up, but we all know the Texas Hold'em game with the draft. Everyone's trying to, trying to test the waters for everything. And the Jets have Adam Gase, so I think that's the period. End of story. So that being said, I don't know. That's just my prediction. I wasn't doing that to be outside the box or do anything. I'm just trying to go on the gauntlet of teams that they have to play in 2020 versus the teams that they play in 2019. Now, if they go 10-6, that 10-6, as I said on the episode, is vastly improved over the 10-6 they did in 2019. I mean, that's just my initial gut feeling. We're in April. Obviously, a lot of things could change in the next 5 months. So even if they do have a season, I hope so. So
Sure. Just a real quick thought for an episode this week. I saw Marshall Parker ask about Clowney, and I've seen a bunch of articles linking the Bills to Clowney that have kind of been floating around out there. So if you guys want an episode like that, put a thumbs up in the chat. I'll see if I can convince Mario a Clowney to Buffalo or draft. Right?
ugh, ugh,
Listen. We had this conversation last year, right? I know. I feel dirty talking about it 2 years in a row myself, but I'll do it if that's what people want.
that's all right.
I'll do it.
I think I saw it in the Wayback Machine. We talked about Clowney last year.
Yeah,
I know we talked about Clowney last year. Donnybrook, there are 17 games though, not starting until 2021. 17 game season. They do have the extra playoff team this year, but they do not have the 17 game season. Daniel Gari says 5-1 in the AFC East. I'm very interested to hear who you think they're going to lose to, Daniel. Steve Hampton 10-6. He feels 11-5 is reasonable now. Min Papa, compensatory picks. If you're New England, you will find a way to give you a bunch of extra picks. If you guys remember the Gillislee tag, the tender that the Buffalo Bills put on Gillislee, where the New England Patriots ended up taking Gillislee from the Bills with that tender, they gave the Bills a 5th-round pick, which was used on Matt
Milano.
Yep. So so I would love for them to give us one of those. B Lightning, who do you think is a better player, Diggs versus Anderson? I'm gonna go Diggs. I just got a feeling about him, especially with the brother connection. I just think that's going to be very interesting. A lot of people want Diggs at 54, so I don't know. Move down in the second to pick up an extra pick. Min Papas once again. I just think it's tough to try to get an extra pick because if those guys pan out, and the Bills have been able to get guys in the later rounds that have panned out for their team, eventually you got to pay those guys. That's why I don't understand Miami getting 3 first-round picks. That's why I didn't understand Vegas last year having 3 first-round picks. It doesn't make any sense. You're losing 2 of those guys in 5 years. You're not going to be able to have those guys. So either you think your window is now, or you should, yeah, we'll be able to sign all 3 first-round picks. Yeah, come on now. Come on.
Right.
Their fifth year options alone will put you in bankruptcy. Ask Mickey Loomis about that. God.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's if you take a look, the Miami Dolphins are going to spend $18.2 million just on their draft pool this year
Yes.
alone, and
Yes.
that just goes up every year.
Yep.
Like it's if you just take a look at just their rounds 1 through 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have 6 picks in the first 3 rounds, and that alone is $16 million next season, and then $18 million the season after that, and $21 to $23 the season after that. Just a nightmare. We saw the Browns do the same thing. We're like, oh my God, look at the Browns. They're acquiring all these picks. They're going to be so good. And they sucked ass. And then they had to dismantle the whole freaking team. And then they draft Baker Mayfield, and they're like, well, we'll figure it out. We'll just sign a bunch of guys now. The acquiring a bunch of draft picks works it doesn't work often, right? It doesn't work often. It's nice in practice, but like we see the Sabres do it, we've seen the Browns do it, we're seeing the Dolphins do it now. It really the long term building your franchise, that's not how you do it, because those players are just going to cost you so much money after their 4 years is up that it's just often not worth it to acquire that many first round picks. It's just simply not worth it.
Yeah. So hashtag Nation, Bills Mafia, you guys. We thank you for joining us for our live stream today, where we were able to get Paul in here, which is pretty awesome because he hasn't been on in a while. I've been, cheating on him with a lot of other content creators. So
I forgive you. I forgive you.
So, like I said, we want to thank you for that. Be on the lookout for that Zoom meeting. I'll post it in the community tab on which day might work for everybody. I know everyone has different times. You guys are all spread all over the United States and all over the world, and we thank you so much for your support. We can't thank you enough. Paul, do you have any parting words before we go create our episodes for this week?
No, thank you guys for joining us at 11:41 on a Friday night. I know none of you are out drinking, because that's kind of like a shunned no right now. But for those of you working and you're catching us at work, thank you for still being part of the machine. For those of you who have the pleasure of sitting at home drinking some Modelo Negros, thanks for taking a few minutes away from playing Xbox to come party with us.
That's pretty awesome. And guys, yeah. So those of you out there, have a happy Easter. We're gonna go create some content here at hashtag Sports, and where we're always trending now, trending later. And we thank you guys for riding. So you guys have a great night.